Okay, I got a strange one in this morning. The customer brought the scooter in last night. They went on vacation on a cruise, and they were getting onto a bus, and they loaded the scooter under the bus and it got damaged. And initially I looked at the scooter, and they also complained that they had battery issues, and they'd just not long, literally before they went on the cruise, got new batteries. So I got to check those, but they're losing battery life. So with any damage to any scooter, especially if they don't know exactly what happened, I can only see physical damage to the broken shroud. But I've just tested the scooter, and there's a clicking, clunking noise coming from the back of the scooter, which was originally not reported to me by the customer. But I'm going to investigate and have a look, see what's going on. Okay, this is the new Go Ultra X. This is their re-release of the Ultra X. Originally, I've said in another video, the red and blue, but now they've done away with the red and the blue and gone with the black, where the shroud there is different. It cuts in, giving you a little bit more foot room over there. But these are the batteries I changed literally maybe 3 weeks ago. I'm going to do a load test on those, see what's going on with that. But I'm suspecting with that noise coming from the transaxle, which I've already started to remove the shrouds and taken a few screws out. I'm going to investigate, have a look, see what's going on there, see if there's any more damage or what's causing it's really loud clunking noise when you turn one side or go over a bump. It doesn't do it all the time, but I'm suspecting there may be damage to one of these bearings, either that top one there or the one in the main bearing just in there, or maybe in there. But you can hear it definitely from this brake side as you sat on the scooter, which is going to be your right hand side as you sat on the scooter. But I do know they did damage the shroud there, so the customer wants to order a new shroud. And also they complained that the battery box was jumping up every time you go over a slight bump. It wouldn't stay seated, it would just jump up. And I pointed out to the customer that also there's a crack just there, and it actually, you can't see it on the video, but it pushes up a little bit. It's kind of sits up proud. Kind of sits up proud just there, and it's pushing the battery box up a little bit. I think that's why it's not holding on the Velcro to hold the battery pack down. It also looks like when I put the battery box in, it's slightly misaligned there. It's nearly touching that side, and there's a big gap that side, so it kind of looks like this. I don't know, I think they may have dropped it more than just broke the shroud, as they said. But again, bus companies, airlines, they have to be careful with these scooters. They're not cheap to repair, especially if it's a transaxle problem. But I'm going to look deeply into this and see what I can do with it, and see if I can find out what the cause of that clunking. But my initial suspect is these bearings there, and then there. So until I take it apart and have a look, I can't really definitively say it. It's smooth when you spin it in both freewheel or in drive. There's a little bit of grinding, but that's kind of normal because you're spinning on one wheel. So, but let me look into it. Okay, with these new Lynx drives, this is the new Lynx. They've changed from the original design where this shaft is actually open. They've changed to these new Lynx transaxles, motor transaxles and brake. You used to be able to get this brake off without having to strip the whole thing to bits. And now they've put this cover on there, you can't get that cover off. Even without the transaxle hold down bracket in place, you could usually just remove that and then take that cover off. But now they've changed, you can't do that. So now I've got to remove the motor from the transaxle just to get to the brake, which is a pain in the you know what. But okay, here we go. Okay, now with the motor off, I can now take that cover off and inspect the brake, just see if there's anything catching or making that noise from the brake. But that's how you would have to change the brake on these things. But they don't sell the brakes anyway separately. They sell this whole piece, so you'd have to take that off anyway. So it's if you had the spare part, then that was how you would take off the brake from there. These 4 Allens, one there. Especially, you just have to be careful with the wiring when you're taking the Allens out, Allen heads. You have to do that so you don't. Just be careful with the mica switch. They're replaceable, so you have to resolder those wires back onto the brake. It's quicker just to replace the whole brake. You just undo this brake wire just there. To remove the brake, 4 screws, and then you have to realign it. It's not hard. And that's your drive end, and that goes through to the transaxle where that plastic cut bushing just there, it goes into that slot. And that drives the main drive cog there. I'll take the brake off and spin it and see if I can hear anything. I don't see any damage or anything. I don't see anything wedged in there. But I'll check it. Yeah, I'll check it more thoroughly. Okay, so put it back together. I'm going to take it for a test drive and see what happens. I'm going to see how bad those batteries are going. 1-footed door open. Pull the armrest down. One light on already. Click, click, click. Back down the straight. Southwest. I'll wait till that plane's gone. back in the store, still 2 lights down. And my theory is with this, I'm going to go and I want to double check exactly what mileage is on this. Clunking. Let me see. What do the specifications say? Okay. It says 3-wheel up to 8 miles, £200 person. I'm close enough. 8 miles. So, in theory, I mean, this is not gospel. Let's say 2 lights is 2 miles, 4 miles, 6 miles, 8 miles. That's what it should be. I haven't done 2 miles. And this is only an estimate. It's not something to go by, but this is what I usually estimate when I test scooters. But 2 lights out, 2 miles, £200 person, 8 miles. That 2 miles would have been at 4 miles an hour because I'm at full speed. So it would be 2 miles, 4 miles an hour. That's half the distance. I should have been half an hour. 30 minutes of run time. I was only out there 4 minutes. So there is still that clunk. You hear it. I'm going to check that wheel just to be 100% because it is ticking on that side. I've done that before. Under load. It's struggling a bit. So I'm going to load those batteries. And also look at this right hand wheel just to see what's happening. Okay, so I've removed the transaxle or the rear frame from the scooter and taken off the nut, and there is, I don't know if it picks up on the camera, but there is a bit of movement between the keyway and the wheel itself. So that's probably going to give you that click, click, click noise. I don't know if you can see that. It's very slight. Can't really hold the phone steady. Let's see if I can. Yeah. And that gives you that ticking noise. Usually, that means wear in this aluminum collar bushing just there, and that's what causes it to tick. Apart from changing the wheel, you can kind of over tighten the wheel nut onto the shaft, and that sometimes takes it away, but sometimes when you do that, it will, these nylon collars will start to back off. So sometimes you put thread lock on them to help them stay in place and keep it locked on a bit tighter with it being worn in there. Looking at the drive shaft, that's the keyway. I may replace that because that's a little bit loose. These do wear over time, but this is kind of a new scooter. Made on it. Yeah, 2021, so it's a year old. He does carry some items on the scooter, like a oxygenator. But that's not gonna. Just more weight you carry, more stress you put on the scooters. But I may change this and definitely tighten that wheel up, see if we can get rid of that ticking noise. The clunking is still there. At first I thought it was the battery pack not seating correctly and just making the Velcro clunk, but no, it's definitely internal in the transaxle. But I'm going to load test these batteries next. I'm suspecting this one. I did check them earlier before I put the batteries on charge. I put them on charge and it charged up pretty quickly, which says to me maybe a battery problem. But I can put new batteries in and test it and see what happens. But I'm going to load test these and see. Okay, so I've removed the batteries from the battery pack. Basically, you just remove that, put it to one side. I use this special, not special, it's a screwdriver that got bent at the end. I use that to pry up on the batteries on each corner. Just helps with getting the batteries out of the battery packs. Because of the Velcro they use, stick it to the underside. But I'm going to load test these batteries. I'll start with this one and see what comes out. This is just one of your basic load testers you can get from Walmart. I think it's 100 amp, but this basically simulates what the motor's doing, pulling power from the batteries. It's just load testing each battery, and it should read around about the 10, 11 mark. New batteries, it should be about 11 volts under load. And this is showing 13 at the moment there. So put it under load and it's showing, oh my gosh, 5. So we know we have a bad battery problem on that one. Let's try that one. On the negative and the positive. Okay, and that one's 13 volts as well on the load, and it's showing 8 and slowly dropping to close to 7 volts. So we know that one's bad as well. Very rare you see two bad batteries from the manufacturer. It's usually one battery that dies quickly. One will die down, the other one will stay pretty well charged, and this one's trying to support batteries, both batteries, and that's why your range gets shorter. So these are both bad. I'll send it back to our manufacturer under warranty and put 2 new batteries in for the customer. So hopefully that's just the distance problem they were having. Okay, here are the new batteries, and you can see they actually date mark theirs on the top, 2207 20th day. So we know these are pretty fresh off the boat from China or Vietnam. These are actually from, and I've been using these for 6-7 years maybe, and I very rarely get any batteries come back because of bad cells. But I'll put these in, make sure they're pressed in. Pressed it there. On the battery pack, on all the Pride battery packs, they have a wiring diagram if you do get lost, but it's pretty simple. Black and red, black and red. Just keep the wires apart and cross them over and do silly things. The black red won't reach over there, so, but that black will. But I've done that in the past. And let's put those on. They're wired up. I'll just check the wiring, just make sure the circuit breaker wires are pushed on, the fuse wires are pushed on. There's no damage. There's no damage to the. Always the negative cables always get corrosion on them from old batteries overcharging. But that's in. That's in. I'll put these on charge, and then I'm pretty confident that is the problem with the battery issue for the scooter. They're also giving me a cup holder to put on the armrest, left hand side, if in case if I do forget. But yeah, like I say, I'll put these on charge. I'll do a test on the voltage on either side. That's another way I check for any bad batteries if I don't rely on the load tester. I'll put my multimeter on there and check if there's any voltage difference between either battery when they're charging, just to make sure that they're pretty even. Sometimes you'll see a higher voltage going into one battery and less on another, and that could be an indication that you've got a bad battery. Giving away my trade secrets. Yeah, let me put this on charge and I'll do that test. So just as a matter of course, I am going to put this new keyway in. That's the old one there. They don't look much different, to be honest, but that one's a year old. This one too. That one's actually got a groove in it. I don't know if you can see that. I don't think that would make much difference, but I'm going to change it anyway and get the wheel tightened back on as tight as I can get it without causing any problems. I've also got to replace these screws in this cover. Like I said earlier in the video, these are the new drives they've got, and they put these covers on them now to protect the brake, just in case you do go in any puddles or wet kind of ground. They're not made for it. Always happens. These Allen screws back in just to hold that cover in place. There's 4 of them, which is adding more work to me, having to change the motor and brake. But it does actually protect the micro switch. The micro switches are the ones that suffer on these smaller things. They always get corroded. Well, 9 times out of 10 gives you brake problems. Your little micro switch. I'm going to say this is a pain in the butt, but it helps protect the brake from any moisture. I've seen some of the guys who sell scooters on online platforms of you know, of the Craigslist kind, and they actually hose these things down, and then in a few months' time they wonder why the brakes have failed on them, because they've got water in them. You never oil or put water on these brakes, because they don't like any kind of moisture, and it will cause it to fail, and then you're looking at a motor and brake replacement, which you don't want to do, especially these new ones, because it's costing me more time to strip them down. There we go. It's a bit awkward, this one. The plastic keeps popping up. There we go, I've got it started now. My Allen wrench is just that little bit really short, and these are the long ones I've got. These are only to hold the cover on, they're not detrimental. I need to protect your brake. That's those 2 done. 3. And the last one. I have to press down on the plastic a little bit to get a good purchase on it. There we go. That's now in place. Brake's back on. So I couldn't see anything in the brake, couldn't see anything in the motor. There's no grinding when I spin it. I'm holding this end basically, and it's turning the gears in there in the transaxle differential, if you want to call it that. But, that's the old one. That's the new one. Basically put that in there. Hold it at the bottom. Relocate your wheel. Yeah, it's still moving. And the way you can counteract that movement is when you put this back on. And 3/4. Is hold the frame and hold the wheel to one either side like that. You can see it moving like that. Hold it to one side and then tighten it. What I'll do is I'll get another 3/4 on it and tighten it up. Best way I find to do this is hold the wheel put it against my chest, and then snug it down as tight as I can get it, and hopefully that should stop that clicking noise. I'll do the same for this side. Just hold it in place and just give it a tighten. Sometimes also with the clicking, especially here in Las Vegas with the heat, these wheels and tires separate, and it sometimes as they get hot and swollen, because obviously heat expands things, and then you sometimes hear a creaking, clicking sound, and that's because the tires basically broken away from the wheel itself, and just annoying creak noise. But that's that done. I'll pop the shroud back on. Battery box charger. I'm using the customer's charger just to make sure that everything's okay with the charger. This is Pride's new charger. They used to be slightly different to this. I don't think I may have one in. They're all new, all the new ones. The older ones look like that, and these failed. Not quite common, but they do fail, and the way you know they've failed is the power light will flash like a dim flash like that. That means the charger's no good. So I've got a load of bodies in there. So these are the new ones, and this one also has faults. So if this red light flashes, it'll give you a sequence of flashes to tell you what the problem is. And I had a customer that damaged this end, and I accidentally rewired it backwards, and it actually told me that the flash sequence on there told me that I'd got it wired wrong. It didn't damage anything, didn't damage the batteries, didn't damage the charger, just told me there was a fault, that the polarity was the wrong way around. Resoldered it, put it back together, and it was good to go. So these are good chargers. When this also goes into fully charged, like green light, or the red light now, turn green or flash, in other words saying that it's tending the battery. I don't like to leave these on tender because it just keeps basically charging the batteries, and you're going to use your batteries up a lot quicker. So the best thing to do is, if it's green and flashing on this charger, or green on the others, or it's gone out, unplug it from the battery pack. Don't leave it charging. I always say no more than 14 hours on a charge. So these are on charge now, and then let them fully charge. I'll test the scooter and see if we got rid of that clicking, and see how we do mileage wise. Okay, that didn't take long, about an hour or so, but these are fully charged, and you can see the green light flashing. See it there, saying that it's tending the battery now. So I'll unplug that, and the green light's gone off, just the power light. So I'll get this back on the scooter and test the scooter. Okay, I've been out here a minute or two. New batteries in, fully charged. It's still holding good. The clicking noise has gone away, so that's fixed that. Obviously that keyway and tightening that bolt up. Tighten that up. Just quieten down that. Scooter seems to be running okay. Struggles a little bit going uphill, but that's a real high incline of a hill. But seems okay. Just got to wait for that front shroud to come in, get that replaced with the customer, and back on the road. Delivery time. Okay, so the sound went off on my microphone, so I've got to quickly narrate what's going off for what you're seeing. Basically, there's 2 screws at the bottom of the shroud near where the battery box goes. One there. Around the underside, 1, 2, 3, and 4 there. Plus, I've got to take off the wheel lock just by removing an Allen, and then these 2 bolts here to remove the tiller. And also under the floorboard is the wire connecting the tiller main harness to the controller, and then I can remove this whole shroud. I did later realise that there's also 2 extra screws, which I'll point out in the next portion of the video. Okay, so the Ultrex is all done. Got this new front shroud on, looks a lot better. A bit of a pig to get it over this bit, but soon figured it out. So she's got her new batteries in there, under warranty, new shroud, and I've also put the cup holder on there, which has got a mark on it already, but I'll clean that off. But yeah, all done. Hope you found it interesting.